Hey everyone, this is Reed, and you're watching MOI. Today, I want to talk about our dying republic, or, if you're in kind of in my mood lately, the dead republic. America has been going through some really ugly, tough times, and lately, a lot of things I'm seeing develop have got me quite concerned. Let me talk about them in some detail here, and I'm hoping you guys will chirp in, tell me what you think, leave some comments about it, maybe dissuade me from my pessimism here, or tell me, yeah, it's that bad. Or if you want to go even further, say, yep, it's ending tomorrow, get ready. Now, I'm not that far. I think the problems we're facing are going to take quite a while to get a lot worse. And I think we're in sort of a very slow collapse. I think this is the very beginnings of a major SHTF event. Let me tell you what I'm thinking about. Recently, we saw Trump declare a national emergency to fund the border wall. Irregardless of whether or not we need the wall or we don't need the wall, I do not like this course of action. You are bending and taking away funding appropriations and how our government is supposed to function through executive action. I don't care which president it is, who it is, I greatly dislike this. This is why I also really dislike FDR. Such sort of things are extremely dangerous. And over time, we've seen the executive branch of our government get more powerful and more powerful. This action of putting in executive power and strengthening the executive and making it stronger and stronger is extremely detrimental to our republic. We were supposed to have three branches of government, the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary, all pretty much with very strong powers to check each other. We've dumped huge amounts of power in the executive branch. Look at it. When Congress subpoenas people and they have to testify, even if they find someone is lying to Congress, Congress has no ability to arrest them and prosecute them and put them in jail. It doesn't exist. It relies on the executive to do it. A lot of what Congress is doing is, in my mind, almost just entertained at the pleasure of the executive branch. And the executive branch maintains this sort of illusion that these other branches of government have power to make the American people believe in their system of government, to make them believe that this system of government isn't immensely damaged in many areas. Basically, I've often wondered is, say we get a president in there that says, you know what, by executive action, I'm declaring a national emergency. Everyone has to turn in their guns. We're going door to door to get them. Now, it may be completely unconstitutional. A court may say, we're issuing an injunction, and we're going to say, you can't do this. They may repeat what Andrew Jackson did when he got ruled against an Indian tribe and say, okay, you guys enforce it. They don't have any ability to enforce it. It requires the belief and the desire of our law enforcement people to honor the judiciary rulings, to agree to abide by them. If they don't honor those rulings and decide to go their own way or follow a president or executive action on such things, what is there to stop them? Well, us, the people, with whatever means we have available, but Congress doesn't have an ability. They have no force. They have no military. They have no militia. They don't have anything. The judiciary, same thing. They don't really have anything. It's all concentrated in the executive. And I see this as a very big problem. The other issue is the country is getting extremely polarized. Now down here where I'm at, small town America, I can go talk to people that have different opinions. We can sit down, at the local eatery and chat about things. You can actually have a decent conversation with a lot of people, even though you might be on different viewpoints, and discuss these issues. I've noticed though in the big cities, that's where you see this massive polarization really manifest. People start screaming at each other, throwing food. People block all people from friendships, take off, parents disowning children. It's utterly insane. Down here, people got a bit more stronger ties of community. And that's one thing I think we've really lost. Extremely strong ties to community. They've disintegrated and really fallen apart. And that's what I see as one of the big weaknesses of America and our dying republic. Is people don't see these ties to community. They don't have them anymore. Most people, don't know all their neighbors. They only know their people hiding on Facebook and stuff like that. And they live in a giant echo chamber. This is disastrous. And it's going to get worse. And then people are becoming really unable to deal with, differences of opinion. People are unable to accept people arguing with them, saying, hey, I disagree with you. And they take great offense with that. And it's like, oh my gosh, you've horribly damaged my psyche. We can't take this. And they're unable to process, challenges in life. And they fall apart over it. This is a big issue. Now, in my background, I'm used to failure. Lots of failure. Engineering is a very hard discipline. You're going to fail a lot. A great deal. But a bunch of other disciplines and a bunch of ways they're raising everyone now, they don't teach you to, fail and then from the failure learn and improve yourself and try again. Now it's success must always be achieved on the first try. If you don't succeed on your first try, give up and find something easy. Because that's what it is. It has to be easy. This is bad. If we get a giant pull apart on our country, we get an extreme, someone on the extreme left or someone on the extreme right, and they begin tearing deeply at the fabric of the country, and lines start getting drawn. People start, things start breaking apart. States start saying, we're going to succeed and stuff like that. I really see as tons of people, not only from the problems of a possible civil war or a balkanization developing, I think tons of people are going to check out just because they can't deal with the stress of it. All the changes coming along. But I see this giant polarization, this giant pulling apart is immensely damaging our republic. And one of the other things that's also been extremely damaging is the elevation of standard legislative bodies, like what's at the federal level, standard legislative bills, to the supremacy of the Constitution. This is crazy. See, most people get this wrong. State law is not subservient to federal law. In fact, state law is on the same level as standard federal law. What was supreme was the Constitution of the United States. In fact, it still is supreme. And any treaties entered into by the United States. That was the Supremacy Clause. And when you look at it, that's why a lot of federal bills that are passed nowadays have provisions in there. If such and such state does not comply with our bill, we will deny them such and such amounts of federal money. The kick to say, get in line and do what we want. Otherwise, you lose this money that helps cover your mandatory federal school programs or your mandatory this program. We won't give you the money for it. And that's what they're doing. They don't run down to, those state legislatures and arrest those people. Although I would definitely love to see some people in a lot of legislatures arrested for violating the oath of office they take to defend the Constitution. But I think we're not going to see anything like that. These people seem able to do anything they want, and it doesn't matter, which is great concern. But you can see what I'm talking about. Federal law and state law are literally on the same field. That's what it is. The U.S. is literally a jumbled together of 50 unique and separate countries, just with an overarching federal government, monetary system, and stuff like that. We were also supposed to have a much smaller federal government. Things are supposed to be maintained far better at the state level, and from that, even more local levels. The idea is that it's very hard to be able to say, this law will work perfectly for everyone. It falls apart. That's why state-run healthcare is an utter unmitigated disaster to think about. There's no way you could write a law that is going to really cover every contingency and every person in every place in every condition. Just not possible. And that's one of the big issues here. We're seeing the elevation of just a standard bill that can be passed with a simple majority being supreme over all the state laws and also being as high as level as the Constitution. Why are these bills that are passed that immensely destroy and damage the Second Amendment okay? They're plainly not. I can read them just fine. Or the attacks against the Fifth Amendment, or the attacks against the Fourth Amendment, or the attacks against the First Amendment. I have deep issues with all of this, and it greatly concerns me. People seem to have immensely forgotten this, and you talk to the everyday person about how these things work, and they think it is a tiered system, and it's not. That's a big issue. Think about it. It took a constitutional amendment to prohibit alcohol. A constitutional amendment. Yet later, after we had a giant elevation of power in the executive branch, it only took a law to institute the drug war and outlaw huge classes of plants and chemicals. That's it. Gone. Kind of crazy to think about that. Why is it took a constitutional amendment in the past, but now, simple signature of the pen by a simple majority, and it's done. Freedom's gone, given away. Yeah, doesn't make very much sense, and you can see how the country's greatly changing. And it's getting even worse. The other thing we're seeing is talk of packing the Supreme Court. Well, anyways, in and of itself, the Supreme Court has far exceeded the authority they ever had in the first place. You have 9 unelected, unaccountable, positions for life people who are able to say, magically, what the Constitution does and does not say. Even though, most of us can read it in plain English and easily see that such and such things mean sense. For them to say, well, such and such thing isn't absolute, or this doesn't mean this, or this can't be done here for these such reasons. It's political. It's always political. Even though they may write it down in reasoned words and try to explain it all the way, it's a political decision. And these people are completely unanswerable to us. The old kings of the past are very much present. They just wear robes, and they're all over the place, and they call themselves judges. Something to be aware of. And the thing is, the further and further we get from this, the further they say the Constitution is a living document, or such and such thing can be reinterpreted, and so on and so forth, the more the rule of law, which is what we were founded on, falls apart. Now, why on earth should we be aware of this as preppers? Why is this so important in prepping? Well, it's important is because you need to be aware of the signs of a slow sliding collapse. And this is what I sort of see. This is a breakdown, and I think beginnings of a very ugly, complete breakdown of the system. Unless I see a big turnaround in a place soon, I see this sort of actions we're seeing of more concentration in the executive and more things, and the swamp being able to hold out so well, like the Mueller investigation and stuff, that, the country in itself cannot probably be righted and corrected. That what we have now is going to get worse and worse, and we're going to see a balkanization of the United States happen within our lifetime. And it's going to tear apart all sorts of things. Something like that happens, I guarantee one of the other things that's going to come along with it is a financial collapse. Just like what we're seeing going on with Venezuela, financial collapses will cause huge problems in lots of other areas. Breakdowns of infrastructure, breakdowns of core services. Your water that used to be safe to drink out of your tap may suddenly have E. coli or cholera in it. And this is something to be aware of. And I think time is actually shorter than we want. Venezuela's been sliding down for like 10 years, I guess. But it really accelerated in the last end. Could America take 10 years to fall apart? Sure. Could it be done faster? Sure. Could it take longer? Sure. I don't know when it could all come apart. That's going to, suddenly, lights are out. Core medical services aren't there. Police aren't coming. People are rioting and looting everywhere. And it's affecting you, even in small town America. I don't know when that's coming, but I think we all need to keep preparing and putting stuff away. And keep yelling and arguing with all the politicians. Maybe, if we all work really hard at it, we can push them to actually start righting this ship. Start realizing that we need more of a republic. This move to mob rule, direct democracy, is dangerous, extremely dangerous. It allows for a giant tyranny of the majority and whoever seems to be the most favored at the time to institute horrific policies and their ill will on everyone else. We do not want to live through that. We've seen how it happens in lots of other countries, and none of those ideas are good, especially with the giant push we're seeing towards socialistic policies. The ruin associated with that I am not going to be one of those people lined up in front of a firing squad and getting shot. That's my take on it. So, this is one of the things I'm very concerned with. The concentration of power in the executive is extremely dangerous. Now we're seeing people starting to really wield that power. Trump is the first one to say, you know, I can't get what I want out of Congress, so it's time for me to exercise it myself. Whether or not I agree with it saying, yes, we absolutely need this and this should be done, that idea of breaking the government down even further is going to bite us in the rear end really bad long term. And we need to be aware of this. So I see this as the coming beginnings of a long slide of collapse. Later, I'll talk about scenarios for what I see coming next. Hopefully this gives you guys something to think about. I'd love to hear some comments on this one and what you all think. Take care, everyone. This is Reed, out for now.